England made 283 on day one at the Oval. That kind of score doesn't do their level of hilarious carnage justice. This video is brought to you by Wicket Cricket Manager. 283 is a beige sweater on an otherwise naked person building a snowman in Hyde Park. It was also a low first innings for this ground over the last decade. Just comparing it to Australia's score earlier this year, it's nowhere near it. In fact, when you have a look at it, they are 7 runs per wicket under the overall record for the last decade on this ground in the first innings. Now, they did have overhead conditions, and maybe more crucially, it was also slightly humid. On top of that, it was dark enough for the lights to be on. It's not really when you want to be batting there. And even though the average is high on this wicket, the pitch has been playing differently of recent times. Even the Australian game had some assistance for the Indians before they were destroyed by Travis Head. The test series before that was delayed twice, once by rain and then the next time by the Queen dying. Yes, that was a thing that happened. But South Africa were blown out of the series when they finally got onto the pitch. And also, India struggled to bat here in 2021. We also know that in modern times, Surrey has abandoned a frontline spinner, despite the fact that their coach is a spinner, as the seamers have started taking more wickets. This is no longer a traditional oval pitch. It's now much more in favour of the quicks. Wickets fall early here, especially on day one. So let's go back to the previous 2 matches. South Africa batted normally in that situation. They found themselves as sitting ducks against a very good English attack. Australia went at India, especially through Travis Head, who knocked them off their line and length. It wasn't bazball, it was travball. And it was Australia who got more runs, although quite clearly they were a better batting lineup than South Africa are. Today, England ended up with a middling total, but they did it in the least middling way possible. You could argue with what they do, but not their commitment to their bit. It started with Duckett, who was playing risky shots when Australia dared bring up their deep point, but also just started running down the wicket. The plays and misses certainly played a part in this. Still, it looked like someone who had decided that conventional batting on this pitch was not going to work. Crawley tried to attack any balls that weren't quite perfect, which again is a modern English thing. Why wait for a bad delivery that may never come? Force yourself on a few that are marginally in your area so you can pick up 4s. But Crawley also came down the wicket. Now, quite clearly Crawley does this a lot, but the only difference here is he didn't look like he was doing it just to put Australia off their length. He was actually reacting to his own plays and misses. Harry Cherrington-Brooke struggled at times and then decided to just whack. This is the most remarkable one. A start comes in, Brooke is completely in a normal position, but the minute it was short, he somehow got inside the line and heaved it back over his shoulder for 6. He probably could have pulled it normally, but he took the more dangerous option for the extra runs. They even made an interesting decision on Moeen Ali. When he had his groin injury, the obvious choice was for him to come off, get treatment, and England would not lose a wicket. Instead, he just started swinging wildly. You can see here, he starts at a normal position before moving out of the way and just destroying this ball. The hitting stopped when he missed a fairly standard delivery from Tom Murphy by a considerable amount. Moeen had already made more than anyone would expect from him at number 3. Plus, he did it with enough boundaries to annoy the Aussies and back up Brooke. England kept going for it even after his dismissal, including this dirty drag on from Johnny Bairstow that no one ever wants to see again. But it also meant that England would lose 4 for 28 from Moeen's wicket onwards. But then Mark Wood came out to bat with Chris Rokes, who was lining up quite well, and both players attacked. It certainly wasn't Wood's normal chaos kind of swinging. He actually at times looked to play to the field a little bit, and Wokes took very smart attacking options. The partnership ultimately just got them closer to 300 than they should ever have been, while annoying the Aussies for a long time. So the question is, did the attacking method of those 3 main partnerships take England from 170 score to, let's say, 100 odd more than they should have? Or did they stop themselves from really batting on and making a total? They did have a decent amount of luck. 5 drop catches in one innings it's a lot. Australia usually catch around 80 to 85%. They took 5 and dropped 5 today. That is less than 80%. And so there are 2 ways of looking at that. Either England went so hard at them that Australia were rattled, which is doubtful, but maybe. Or England was creating so many extra chances that on a normal day, they would have been dismissed far earlier. But because England went so hard, there is no doubt that Australia weren't able to hit a line of length as much as they wanted to. And so we have no real idea what would have happened next if England had not played that way. Also, I just want to relitigate the Wood-Wokes partnership for a moment, because there is no doubt that at this point, it was much easier to bat on. The Crawley-Duckett partnership and the Brooke-Moeen partnership were from positions of weakness. They felt like they had to attack because otherwise they were just going to get dismissed. That's not quite the case when Wood and Wokes are batting together. The ball wasn't doing much at that point, and they batted quite well. And remember that when Australia came out, they also found the conditions far easier than England had. So, if England had batters available by later in the day, they would have found it easier as well. But if they just batted normally, would they have had any batters at all? Like, was the reason that they batted for the period of time that they did because they were swinging like 1970s suburban couples? And the other unanswerable question is, if they had played normal, what would they have got anyway? Because there's a big chance that they would have been picked off by Cummins and Hazelwood, and their tail wouldn't have felt as comfortable to come in and just swing around. Or would they have weathered the new ball and built a solid 350 plus score? Based on their pre-bazball batting, they would have been dismissed for about 125 and we all would have made fun of them. So we're obviously not going to compare them to that era. But really we're trying to work out if England were better to attack and get as many as possible while getting themselves a bit of a fumble assist from Australia, or if they hit themselves out of a low score and in doing so didn't have enough batters to actually cash in on their good work. Despite what Richard Thompson said about England single-handedly saving Test cricket recently, a claim as bizarre as some of the worst parts of bazball machismo, the truth is that this is a cricket strategy that sometimes works and sometimes fails. That is part of the entertainment of it. And it also makes it as watchable as it was when their coach was out there batting. Today we saw the best and worst. And somehow with everything that went on, England ended up with a basic middling score while pouring petrol on themselves and running through a brush fire naked.